Hey, this is Tamoor from CVG.
And this is Andy Robinson.
And Andy went to see Kinect Sports Rivals at Rare recently, didn't you?
Indeed, I did.
Tell us about it.
Well, it's obviously it's the third game in the series, using the it's kind of the centerpiece of the new Kinect sensor. It was supposed to be there for the Xbox One's launch, but obviously they delayed it for a little bit more polish. And I think you can see that it really is quite an impressive demonstration of the new sensor, which hasn't really had much airtime in the public so far. It seems it's a little bit more stylish. It has a little bit more personality than the previous games. It looks and feels a bit more like you would expect for traditional games come from Rare would be like.
It's almost Mario Kart-esque in its visual design, and also in kind of like in the way it's positioning competitiveness in the sports.
Oh yeah, it's a really competitive game, and it's a game that has to be played in local multiplayer. I feel, or even though I've not actually played it online, but it's so much fun having kind of a crowd together at the event I was, and kind of building the competitiveness, playing stuff like the rock climbing and football, etc. in two-player. It was a load of fun. It really, really was. I mean, I've not had as much fun in a motion game since the original Wii Sports.
In the rock climbing game, you can see the players are reaching over when they get too close to another player and grabbing and pulling them apart. How does that work with the Kinect? Is it
well, the Kinect can sense that. It can sense, obviously, your arms reaching up. So you do actually reach up, and then kind of the key the game breaker compared to the previous Kinect is that it can detect your finger movements. So you can actually reach up, and there's a segment where kind of some of the rocks that you're holding onto are electrified, but you can put your hand over it, wait for the electricity to go away, and then grasp it. So it does actually know when you're grasping, and obviously, yeah, if an opponent comes too close, you can grab them and kind of throw them down.
Rock climbing is one of 6 sports in the game. One of the other ones is tennis, and for motion control gaming and casual gaming, Wii Sports is a massive game in that genre. How does this stack up to that?
Do you know what? I might be going off on one, but I really do think it's better than Wii Sports, their version of tennis. There's a lot more movement required. You have to, just like real tennis, you have to get your opponent to stretch them, to get them to run around. Although the movement of the actual player characters themselves is on rails to most extent. If you get a shot that's right in the corner, you will have to dive into the corner of your living room and get it. It can kind of detect the power and the spin and the subtle movements on your hand. That's probably one of the things that I would warn with the Kinect Sports, that if you've got a small living room, it's still not really going to be for you. There's a lot of room required for this because of the extra fidelity of the sensor. You will be diving around in football. You don't want to be kicking your coffee table across the room.
It does seem like there's a lot of depth to the games as well, especially with football.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I played football for a good couple of hours. It's kind of like turn-based football. Anyone who played any of the original Kinect Sports games will be familiar with it. You have kind of your teammates, and you have to pass the ball to them while kind of red AI representations of your opponent move around, and you have to make sure you don't hit those. If you hit them, then kind of your opponent takes over. If you get to the goal, you get to have a shot, and your opponent gets to take control of the goalkeeper. And there is a lot of depth there. I think that's probably the biggest difference between this and the previous games. I mean, not criticising them too much, but there is a lot of depth there. I mean, to a core gamer level. The more we played that football game, the better we got at it. Generally, we noticed stuff like if we, when we took a shot, if we kept our feet lower to the ground, then obviously the shot would be lower as well, and we'd be more successful. And after a couple of hours, we were like putting balls in the corner and stuff. Whereas if you got a new player in, they probably just smack it, and it flower wildly into the keeper's hands.
A lot of people might have played the Season 1 version of the game currently available on Xbox Live. It's kind of a taster for it, and you can play the wakeboarding, is it? How's that?
I wouldn't say it's the best representation of the package itself, because the wake racing is probably the weakest sport in the game, just because the motion controls don't feel like they bring anything to the experience. It looks and feels like a next-gen wave race, which is brilliant, but I'd rather be playing that sort of game with a controller. The motion controls, holding your hands out and pretending to kind of grasp a real jet ski, they don't really bring anything to the experience other than your arms really aching after a couple of laps.
And it's all kind of brought together in a style similar to Wii Sports Resort, isn't it?
Yeah, there's kind of like a big island in the game, and you can tell that one of Rare's intentions was to bring some more personality and flair and style into the game. And it really is a beautiful game. I mean, you can see from the footage, it's there's kind of like lush scenery and jungles and big rock towers and stuff. And if you're playing tennis, you'll be on the top of this big rock tower. If you're playing football, you'll be on like a ship a boat, and then in one of the rock climbing levels you actually climb up the boat. It's a great looking game, even though it's structurally you are kind of still going through menus. It's welcome change to the blandness that you would often get in the previous games.
One of the big other things that Ray and Microsoft have been talking about, both for the Kinect and the game, is how well it captures your facial features and kind of puts it into the game. How does that work in the game?
It works really, really well. It's called the Champion Creator. When you start the game, it'll boot up. It takes about 3 minutes to get your avatar into the game. As someone who's seen the debug tools behind Kinect and how it works, it's a really impressive sensor. I think people will be surprised just how accurate it is. And certainly this particular feature of Kinect Sports is going to show off some of that. It works. It'll ask you, start off by asking you to kind of stand up, and it will detect your height and your body shape. And then it will ask you to get a bit closer, so you're almost face to face with the sensor. And it will ask you to kind of look up, look down, look left, look right. And it will map a near perfect representation of your face. Obviously it's stylized a bit. It'll give you like a big chin and exaggerate your features, but it really is impressive. But obviously to get an avatar that looks like you, there's other factors like your hair and your eyes and your facial hair and stuff like that, and they have to be picked out of kind of various samples available in menus, so it won't necessarily work for everyone. But some of the guys that I saw at the event I went to, their avatars looked absolutely brilliant.
Is the game playable online?
Yes, it is.
And locally, obviously.
Yes.
Do you know when it's out?
It's out the first week of April.
So it sounds like you're saying that people who might have been put off by the original game or not been convinced by Kinect should actually, like hardcore gamers, should keep an eye on the game, right?
Oh, honestly, the first couple of Kinect games, the Kinect Sports games, which I played, I ended up getting bored, as I mentioned, because of that lack of depth. I really do think this is a game that can appeal to the core as well as a more mainstream audience, just because that depth is there. It clearly is, from the day I spent with it, a really fun local multiplayer game. The only deal breaker is, again, having the space in your house. Not everyone lives in the big studios that Microsoft would have set up to play this game. But as something to pull out once a year and set up and play for, I think a lot of core gamers will be surprised by it.
Excellent, thank you very much.
Thank you.
For more on Kinect Sports Rivals, read Andy's full preview on cvg.co.uk, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for regular videos.